Bonjour, I'm Pierre from French Moments, and in this video I'll take you for a walk in the village of Joucas in Provence. We'll explore the village from the church to the castle and admire the magnificent panorama of the Luberon. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It really supports the channel and helps us bring more amazing content to you. Also, if you haven't already, click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest videos. Let's begin our exploration of Joucas on the Grande Rue to the east of the village on the road coming from Roussillon. Joucas is a charming village tiered on a hill facing the ochre cliffs of Roussillon. It's a peaceful locality offering a gateway to breathtaking panoramas. And above all, it's a village that might appeal to you if you're looking to avoid the tourist hustle and bustle found in other villages of the Luberon like Gordes or Roussillon. Here's the Boulodrome, the village's very well-maintained pétanque court. The first official pétanque competition took place in La Ciotat in 1910. That's where the game of boules was formalized. The term pétanque comes from the Occitan Provençal words pé for foot and tanka for stake, because pétanque is played with the feet firmly on the ground in contrast to the game of boules, where the player can take a run-up. Here's the village's only food shop. We finally enter the historic part of the village along the Rue Grande. The street becomes narrower and the houses are tightly packed against one another. We'll come back down this way later. Here we have an alley of old plane trees with a terraced view over the vineyards. It's a lovely picture of rural Provence. Let's turn back and take the left street leading to the upper part of the village. Here's the pretty Place de la Fontaine. We'll come back here later, but first let's head towards the church at the end of the Rue de l'Église. Until the wars of religion, religious services seemed to have been held in the Notre Dame Chapel in the district of the same name. Then the Castle Chapel, after its reconstruction, served as the parish church until the construction of the current church on this esplanade to the east of the village from 1766 to 1770. Let's go see the beautiful view from the church square. To the right of the church is the mairie, the town hall of Joucas. Like many Provençal churches, the exterior of Joucas church is very austere, but once inside it feels like stepping into a real museum of Italian art with its trompe-l'œil paintings. Let's retrace our steps back to the Place de la Fontaine. Here's the village's old wash house, which was restored in 1960. Bonjour le chat. Let's continue climbing up the village via the Calade du Potier. Jucas has delightful and picturesque little winding streets paved in the old stepped manner, which can only be discovered on foot. This Calade is a perfect example. To continue the climb to the castle, you should take a right, as for us we'll continue straight ahead for just 400 meters to discover this lovely spot of Jucas. Then we will return to this intersection. All these old stone houses have been carefully restored. And here we are at the village exit. We'll go back down to the intersection with this superb view over the roofs of the old village. We can see the bell gable of the church and the fertile plain of vineyards and orchards. Let's go back under this archway. Then let's continue climbing up on the left. The Calade de la Commanderie takes us to the top of the village on the site of the old commandery. Look at this superb view. This is my first visit to Jucas, and the village is a real revelation to me. We're walking along the wall of the old commandery on the right, and at the end of the street is the entrance to the castle. This is actually a former Templar commandery that is now a private property. We've reached the top of the village at the place known as Aire du Château at 269 meters above sea level. We're going to circle the castle through the scrubland before heading back down to the village. Meanwhile, let's take a bit about history. In 1055, the castrum Jucas was mentioned in a charter of the Abbey of Saint-Victor in Marseille. The place was the property of the bishops of Apt, then of the powerful Agult-Simian family. In the 13th century, Jucas was handed over to the Knights Hospitaller of St. John's of Jerusalem, which would become the Order of Malta. The Templar Commandery is a place rich in history that served as a refuge and a caring place for travelers and pilgrims. It was once the center of significant Templar activity, managing several farms in the Luberon Valley. In the 12th century, the Hospitallers of St. John's of Jerusalem built a fort at the top of a village, around which several peasant families came to settle. But the village was deserted in the 14th and 15th centuries. To repopulate it, the Valdensians were called upon. Then Jucas became part of the 40 or so localities in the Luberon, where at least 1,400 families of Valdensians came from the Alps between 1460 and 1560. However, the majority of the population with Valdensian tendencies joined the Reformation and then converted to Protestantism. As a result, the general persecution of the Valdensians in Provence affected the village in the 16th century. Crimes were committed on both sides. The Lord Commander was murdered and his body was thrown into a well. In the backlight, we can see the old commandery. In 1663, the castle of the commandery was demolished by Catholics before being rebuilt. During the French Revolution, the fortress was again besieged and partially destroyed. The property was sold in 2006 to an English businessman. Let's go see the panoramic view of the valley. Admiring the view, we understand that the reason for the choice of the commandery's location was because it was easy to see the enemy coming from afar. And let's continue our way down by the Chemin de l'Enclos. Let's take a little detour through the Rue du Four Communal, which once housed the village's oven. It's a charming corner of Jucas with its beautiful stone houses. Let's go back to the way we came. The Calade on the right goes down to the Rue Grande, which we will join. Exploring the village, you'll come across several monumental sculptures of the Labyrinthe des Arts. These works by Marion Heybrook and Ulysse Plaut, two nomadic artists who choose Jucas as their last residence, are meant to provoke thought on humanity. And here's the Rue Grande. We're going to return to our starting point, taking our time. So you'll have gathered that Jucas is a tiny village that one can quickly tour around, but it's a little gem of the Luberon, set apart from the major tourist destinations like the neighboring villages of Gordes and Roussillon. True, the village suffers from a lack of real commerce. There's only a cafe, a restaurant, and a small food store. But maybe that's what makes it very pleasant and peaceful. The village of 315 inhabitants doesn't have a tourist office, but it's good to know that the town hall has tourist brochures of the region. You can go there to get some when the town hall is open. If you're watching this on YouTube and you've been to Jucas in this part of the Luberon, I'd love to hear about your visit. Drop a comment below and tell us what you loved about it. Here we are back at our starting point, but before we part, I want to show you another site in Jucas worth visiting. I find myself on the Route de Murs at the east exit of the village. And here's what I want to show you, the windmill of Jucas. This mill was built around 1850 to grind grain. It stands proudly with its wings and conical roof. This mill is a puzzle in itself. At the time of its construction, windmills were no longer in vogue. One wonders why its owner, Jean Cortas, was so keen on building it at a time when the industrialization of grain milling was taking place thanks to steam power. Indeed, water mills continued to operate for a long time. However, for windmills, which are fragile and complicated to monitor, it was instead the era of their disfavor. Moreover, this mill must not have functioned for very long, about 25 years. Thus, by 1901, it was already classified as a ruin. So, why did Jean Cortas wish to build a mill? Was it to take advantage of the gradual shutdown of the water mills of the Véroncle, seeing it as an opportunity? Did he have a passion for windmills? Or perhaps it was a mark of prestige? We will never know. We can enter the mill and reach the first floor by a staircase. Here we can see the flour production mechanism that has recently been restored. If the topic of windmills interests you, written information in French is displayed on the wall. Thank you for watching this video. It was a real pleasure to bring you along on my discovery walk in the village of Jucas in Provence. I'll see you soon for other adventures. À bientôt!